He's special, my family said about my grandson's $70 M trust. Then whispers, midnight calls, and a broken roller coaster. Now the police want to talk. Allow me to tell you about my family. I am Margaret Wilson, but everyone calls me Maggie. I am 63 years old. Following my graduation from the University of Virginia, I was a branch manager at Chase Bank for quite a long time, finally retiring 10 years back. Nowadays, I get a sense of fulfillment from volunteering at First Baptist Church. My husband, Thomas, is 65. He is an engineer who went to MIT and enjoyed a remarkable career at General Electric. Even now, he's incredibly precise and dedicated, and you can usually find him at the Kingsmill Golf Club on weekends. Our son, David, is 35. He works as a CTO at a tech firm and has a degree from Stanford. His wife, Jennifer, comes from a well-known Boston family. They've settled into a beautiful home located within the same Kingsmill resort community where we reside. And then there's my joy, my 8-year-old grandson, Kyle. He's in 3rd grade at Williamsburg Christian Academy, a bright boy who does very well in swimming. My mother, Mary, who passed away 2 years ago, had established a prosperous local department store chain. She loved Kyle and left him a trust fund totaling $70 million. We enjoy a comfortable existence in the luxurious Kingsmill Resort near Williamsburg, Virginia. On a morning when there's a haze at Kingsmill Resort, the perfectly arranged colonial-style houses extend towards the vast green golf course. The antique roses my mother loved, which we have in our garden, are blooming beautifully again this season. Grandma, what was the topic of the sermon at church today? Kyle always greets me at the door when I get home from First Baptist Church. The world seen through his guileless gaze has to be more lovely than the one us grown-ups perceive. A substantial inheritance was set up by Mother for his future. Her last words still resonate inside my head. Maggie, I have faith in your family. Thomas and David will definitely be competent guardians. Just as Mother predicted, we're lacking nothing these days. Even so, I sometimes get a subtle feeling of something not quite right within this flawless everyday existence. It's like a solitary droplet hitting still water. The feeling vanishes fast, and yet one chilly July. On a clear July morning, I find myself in the kitchen, and the roses in the garden are gleaming in the sun's glow. The old roses that Mother so meticulously cared for are now my responsibility. It was Mother's favorite thing, the way the morning dew gleamed on the petals like precious gems. Good morning, Maggie. Thomas walks in holding his paper, just as he always does. His precise manner hasn't changed since he stopped working. He's getting ready for his early tea time at Kingsmill Golf Club. A blue polo shirt, white pants, and the gold cufflinks Mother gave him are his uniform. His immaculate look possibly stems from his days at MIT. I fill a small white cup with coffee and begin my morning devotions. The quiet sound of prayer fills the air. Prayer words quietly fill the room. This calm morning routine is a treasured habit I learned from Mother. I'm sitting in a chair beside the pool with the Bible open, and the sun reflects off the water like a scattering of diamonds. I always feel peaceful once I'm done with my daily tasks at First Baptist Church. Suddenly, I hear Grandma Kyle's lively voice. Then there he is running toward me sporting his brand-new swimming goggles. He's the most well-liked kid in Sunday school at First Baptist Church, and he just radiates joy. He looks like a picture in his crisp white polo shirt and khaki shorts. Kyle, did you have breakfast yet? I ask. Yes, Mom made those amazing pancakes, he replies. We're so yummy with plenty of blueberries and maple syrup. Jennifer always displays her talent in the kitchen during weekend breakfasts. Since she came from a well-known Boston family, she cooks like a true professional. Her meals have become even more fancy recently. However, I've noticed something changed in her recently. Those dark shadows beneath her eyes concern me. Maggie, can I go with you to Whole Foods for groceries this weekend? Jennifer asks, putting her hand on my shoulder from behind. The aroma of her Chanel perfume mixes into the fresh morning air. Certainly, you have great taste, I tell her. You're far better at selecting organic veggies than I am. Thanks, she says. Actually, David seems to be giving a lot of thought to Kyle's future, including the college fund and all that. Jennifer's voice shakes just a little bit during our friendly chat. Her hand tightens on my shoulder a bit. I guess that's normal, right? He is our beloved son. Yes, but sometimes I find his intensity a bit unnerving, she says. What do you mean? I ask. Oh, it's nothing. Jennifer abruptly shifts gears, beginning to map out the food plans for the upcoming weekend. Her actions appeared to carry a sense of unease. On Sunday at First Baptist Church, we're all together as a family, enveloped by the hymns. Kyle's voice, pure and unwavering, echoes throughout the sanctuary like an angel singing. The image of the Virgin Mary, painted on the church's ceiling, seems to offer a soft, comforting smile. After the service, we take part in the usual fellowship time, enjoying our Chick-fil-A meal. The faces around the table are familiar, but I still get a sense that something is amiss. Hey, Kyle, David says to his boy, holding up a new video camera. It's the newest Sony model, having arrived only a few days ago. Dad, are you filming again? He replies to his son. Yes, I want to document your growth. Especially this summer, I'm hopping to catch many great memories. Come on, look at the camera. A little too much, perhaps. Everyone. Thomas displays a pamphlet on the table. The glossy pages are filled with bright pictures of Busch Gardens. How about a family trip to Busch Gardens this summer? Kyle's face brightens instantly. But momentarily I notice David and Jennifer trading glances, and a shadow, a dark one, seems to flit across their faces. I'm in, I say. Let's go before the heat becomes unbearable. My words seem to calm the mood, easing everyone's expressions. Yet the feeling that something is just under the surface, behind those smiles, lingers. On the way to Kyle's swimming lesson, he suddenly says, "Grandma, sometimes adults are really weird." "What do you mean?" he continues. "Mom and Dad have been really keen on photos and videos recently. But their smiles feel different. I've noticed Dad speaking on the phone with someone twice during the wee hours of the morning. My grandson's reflection in the car's mirror appears surprisingly grown-up. His sharp eye, which isn't typical for an 8-year-old, surprises me. That evening, while leafing through photo albums in my room, Mom's final words resurface in my mind. "Maggie, my last offering. It will definitely provide joy for your loved ones." The pictures in the album really do reveal happiness. But now I can't get rid of the feeling that some hidden darkness exists beneath these ideal grins. I really want to think tomorrow will be another joyful day. However, why does my heart feel increasingly heavy with each passing second? From the patio, I gaze up at the night sky where stars shine softly. Something is definitely starting to shift in our overly idyllic everyday existence. As I'm driving into the Patrick Henry Mall parking lot, the biggest shopping center in the Hampton Roads area. The hot summer sun blazes down on the packed lot, full of expensive cars. Today we're buying things for our upcoming Busch Gardens visit. Kyle, remember to put on sunscreen. At my prompt, Jennifer starts to frantically rummage through her purse. Her Louis Vuitton bag holds a number of envelopes I haven't seen before. Oh, papers? Yes, just insurance renewal and other stuff like that. She quickly stuffs the envelopes further into her bag. There's a definite sense of haste to her actions. Inside, the mall is alive with activity. Kyle pauses in front of the swimwear store, checking out new swimsuits. "I really like the way this blue one looks." "I do. However, maybe we ought to go a size bigger." I kind of hesitated after hearing what Jennifer said. "We've always purchased Kyle's clothes to fit precisely, so what's the deal?" "Oh, David, aren't you supposed to be at work?" To my surprise, we bumped into my son while we were at the mall. He was wearing an expensive suit and seemed engrossed in a discussion with a man I didn't recognize. When he saw us, he immediately told his companion something and then said goodbye. He said it was just a brief meeting. They have a client who's close by. And it's a Sunday. Talk about needing to be available all the time. His work never stops. David's voice was upbeat, but you could see the stress on his face. "We're looking at brochures to plan our trip to Busch Gardens during lunch at the Cheesecake Factory. Apollo's Chariot has a height limit, so Kyle likely wouldn't be able to go on it. But Griffin should be okay. The safety features are great, so there's nothing to worry about." Thomas spoke with an uncommon level of confidence. His normally cautious engineering perspective seems to have lessened. "Where should we take pictures for memories?" "The Ireland section would be ideal. The scenery there is beautiful. We should film some videos, too." While we were talking, Kyle whispered in my ear, "Grandma, aren't Mom and Dad being a little too into taking photos?" His words made me stop. You know, they actually have been very focused on documenting photos and videos recently, almost like they're trying to keep a record of something. "Oh, yeah." David suddenly stood up. "I have to take this call. It's important business with the insurance company." He quickly excused himself from the table. Across the restaurant's glass, I spot him speaking to the same gentleman from earlier. "Insurance, that's right. They've been calling a lot recently, haven't they? Always wanting to review our life insurance." Jennifer's voice shakes. She quickly finishes her water and goes to refresh her makeup. In the meantime, Kyle is silent. He's eating his cheesecake without a sound, but I notice he's watching the grown-ups carefully. "Grandma, yes, sweetie, I'm looking forward to making summer memories. But... Something feels off. It's not like usual. Those thoughts feel heavy inside me. It's true, the family dynamic has been subtly shifting recently. Although everything seems calm and cheerful on the outside, a sense of unease feels like it's just below the surface. When we were done shopping and driving home, it was getting dark. Kyle was soon asleep in the vehicle. His sleeping face in the rearview mirror appears so innocent. But David behind the wheel and Jennifer in the front seat look so drained, almost like unfamiliar faces. Once we arrived home, they wanted to leave right away. "It's late, why not stay?" I asked. "No, we have things to do at home." David's voice trembles. Jennifer has things to take care of at home, has already entered the car. Watching them drive away, I question myself. Did I make the correct decision to end that conversation? But why do they both look so incredibly unwell? That evening I held my mother's special ring and said a prayer. What would happen tomorrow? I didn't know the answer yet. The following morning, after a night where I couldn't sleep a wink, I went to brew my usual coffee, and a newspaper headline immediately grabbed my attention. Roller coaster at Busch Gardens shut down in emergency, it read. A problem with the control system was noticed early. A major catastrophe was avoided. The white mug just slipped right out of my hands. The noise of the ceramic breaking shattered the quiet morning air. Thomas, who was reading the paper, quickly turned around, startled. His eyes were filled with an emotion I'd never seen before. Maybe it was fear, or it could have been guilt. At that precise moment, my phone started to ring. It was Bank of America. Mrs. Wilson, the voice said, our usual audit has brought to light some questions concerning your account. Could you come to the branch as soon as you can? The bank's phone call was so cold. Yes, I'll come right away, I told them. As I was starting to get ready, I saw Mother's old photo album, which I'd been looking through last night because I was feeling so uneasy. I mindlessly flipped through the pages and I found a receipt tucked inside. It was in Mother's handwriting, Mary's Trust beneficiary Kyle Wilson. It was dated right before she passed away, but the amount, it was different from what Mother told me. At the Bank of America branch, a young woman, a banker, took me to a private room. Mrs. Wilson, we need to confirm a few things regarding the trust account's activity over the last 6 months. When she turned the computer screen toward me, I saw a transaction history that I couldn't believe, big transfers, wire transfers that went overseas, and a huge increase in insurance policies. Were you aware of all these transactions? She asked. I couldn't speak. I saw the bank's records, all of which looked completely legitimate, but I honestly had no clue about any of those transactions. As I walked away from the bank, I realized I was going toward First Baptist Church without even thinking about it. Soft sounds of kids' laughter were coming from the windows of the Sunday school. Then I saw Maggie. Mrs. Sarah, the pastor's wife, came right up to me. It must have been hard for her. I heard some things that happened yesterday, the day before. That's right about David quitting his role overseeing the church's finances with no warning. Plus, there was something about him taking a lengthy business trip to another country. All of a sudden, it all began to make sense. Getting back home, I could hear my husband talking on the phone from his study. Even though it was really late, he was still on the phone. He said, yes, go ahead with the plan. He continued, the insurance payment will definitely go through. He explained, no, yesterday was a surprise. But the next time, the phone call abruptly ended when he must have heard me on the stairs. Gazing at the picture of my mother, I took out some ancient papers from the drawer. These documents held the real details of my mother's trust. It seemed the public figure of $70 million was barely the start of it. Mother had an even greater fortune stored in banks in Switzerland. And the people who knew this. Quickly, I opened my laptop and started looking at old emails I'd saved. I found my mother's last message. She wrote, Maggie, if you are reading this email, something must have gone wrong. I remembered. I already made up my mind. As I read, tears started running down my face. Why hadn't I seen this sooner? Kyle's smiling face smiled at me from the picture on the desk. I truly hoped our selfish desires and our deception hadn't corrupted his innocent view of the world. The moon was coming up just beyond the window. Its light was soft and mournful, just like my mother's watchful glance. I've got to make a choice tomorrow, to stop our family from falling apart. Most importantly, I need to safeguard Kyle's life ahead. Inside a room for interviews at the Williamsburg Police Department, the morning sun bounces off the coffee mug sitting on the table. Mrs. Wilson, this is a grave situation, she stated. Detective Sarah Collins observes me intently through her spectacles. Piles of the evidence I provided are spread out in front of her. There's proof of insurance fraud, misuse of entrusted funds, also a failed accident attempt. However, it only ended as an attempt. My voice wavers as I say this, all thanks to a child's instincts. Leaving the police station, I traveled immediately to First Baptist Church. Though it wasn't a Sunday, there was someone at the small church. Maggie was there. Pastor Michael was waiting in the prayer room. Have you decided? Yes, I replied. I'm choosing to defend my family. Yet I know this journey will be tough, I understand. I inhale slowly, gathering my thoughts. Only God can judge and pardon. But there are actions I'm able to take. Confront the reality and lead the way towards atonement. In our living room, the evening light seeps through the heavy atmosphere. David bows his head. Jennifer can't stop crying. Thomas gazes out the window, silently. The company's debt was relentlessly increasing. David's voice is raspy, failed investments and loans that spiraled. Did you come up with this whole scheme? When I asked, Jennifer glanced up. It was my doing, she admitted in a soft tone. My folks' company in Boston failed completely. My family in Boston, my parents, just disappeared. It was the stress, I was okay with it. Thomas's tone was serious and weighed down with emotion. The fear of not working anymore was always there. Also, the future of our grandson. We were insane with the need for more money. What about Kyle, though? He was clueless. David's voice shook. It was just a kid's instincts that stopped us. The room fell silent. The detective had just described what the next steps would be. My voice came out softly then. Still, there's a chance to make decisions. There is a rehabilitation program, and we will set up a good management system for the trust funds. Maggie, I was thinking what Mom would say. Own up to what you did wrong, make it right, and start over. That's what a loving family does. The birds outside were singing. Kyle, could you come in here? I asked. The door opened, and Kyle appeared with a worried expression. Why is everyone crying? We're so sorry, Jennifer said, struggling not to cry. We probably look worried to you because of our faults, sweetheart. Kyle slowly walked to his mother and wiped her face with his tiny hands. It will be okay. God will pardon you. Our Sunday school teacher taught us that. What he said changed the mood in the room. Light always wins. An 8-year-old had taught us this lesson. I stood, holding Mom's ring. Life ahead won't be easy, but facing the truth is the start of our new life. A year later, the start of summer. The First Baptist Church's garden was full of beautiful roses. Grandma, look. I snapped a picture of David with his certificate showing he completed his rehab program. These days, he spends his weekends giving swimming lessons to the kids in our area. Jennifer began helping out at the church, assisting in their counseling sessions. She's become a source of comfort to people facing similar challenges. Maggie, Thomas softly touched my shoulder. That familiar, heartfelt look was back in his eyes. We appreciate you so much for pointing us toward salvation back then. The trust funds Mother Mary set up are now being closely managed by an independent company. It shows just how much we learned from the situation. Grandma, do you recall what the Bible verse is for today? Kyle asked with a cute grin. Absolutely. The darkness cannot overcome the light. I glanced upward towards the clouds. It feels like Mother is watching over all of us. Admitting you were wrong, making things right, and starting over. That's the direction our family decided to take. And now we're seeing the promise of a fresh beginning.